until November of last year, Robert would have what we would describe as a fairly ordinary man in his early 40s. Then he went to the gym. He experienced a cardiac event. It changed him, it changed his life. In this episode, Robert describes what happened that day and how he overcame those obstacles to bring himself back to a level of health, to a level of fitness, and a level of wholeness. So sit back, be inspired, and do enjoy.
I'm not very, although I try to be disciplined in life, I struggle with routines, like clockwork routines. So, but there's a number of fitness things that I like to do. So one of them is tennis, but I haven't been able to do that over for the last year because I had a frozen shoulder. So the last time I played tennis was June of last year. I've been a gym member for over probably 3 years now, and I was going regularly, but obviously with the lockdowns that prevented me, and I have gone back to that, or I did go back to that during last year before the heart attack, but it wasn't as regular as I would have wanted to because of the fact that I had a frozen shoulder. So I think it was pretty much, again, June was probably my last gym class. But I was doing other things. So I was running pretty much 3 times a week, if not more actually, about 3 miles each time, if not 5 miles. And I also did a half marathon last summer. So I did the over on Wimbledon Common. And not only that, in August of last year, I walked from Plymouth along the southwest coastal path in Devon to Dartmouth, which was my final destination, and that was around 100 miles in total, including offshoots to campsites and that sort of thing. So generally my fitness I thought was okay, but I've always had this underlying question because my recovery from fitness classes hasn't always been good. I used to get quite a lot of lactic acid buildup, and I would always feel quite tired after one gym class. And so the next time, if I was going to the gym the next day, my body would always feel a little bit tight, and people would put it down to, say, stretching. But since having the heart attack, and now I'm on the medication, I don't get that level of tiredness after exercise, which is a good thing. So if I can joke, I feel a little bit more like a Russian athlete, because I seem to have a better response to fitness now, to exercise now. The class that I went to was a body attack class. So the irony is, I had a heart attack just after a body attack class. I mean, body attack, I don't want to scare anybody. It's not, it's not going to guarantee, that you'll have a heart attack if you take it, but it's quite a high intensity class. I think that they say, during the gyms, on the gym websites, that you can burn as much as 500 calories during a high intensity body attack class. This was the second time I'd done it that week. I'd done it earlier in the week, and I'd also taken a Zumba class or two as well. So it was probably my 3rd or 4th fitness group class that week, and I took it relatively slowly at the back of the class because of the fact that I had a frozen shoulder. There were upper body things like press-ups that I couldn't do, or planks and stuff, that sort of thing. But generally, it was quite a high intensity still, even so. So the class finished, and I wiped down my mat and went to the changing room, and it was it was in the changing room that I started to feel unwell. I hadn't actually cottoned on that there was anything problematic at the time until I'd actually got into the changing room, and it just like a black cloud kind of came over me at that time. So there was a guy in front of the locker that I needed to get to, and why that shouldn't have stressed me at all, but he was standing there and he looked at me, and I was like, okay, it's pretty obvious that I need to get behind him because he could see my reaction. But at that time, I don't know whether he had understood, but anyway, there was a bit of a misunderstanding, I think, in terms of reading each other's body language, but he didn't cotton on to the fact I needed to get there. So I waited patiently for a couple of minutes, and then I started to feel a bit stressed. I actually then went behind him and even whilst he was still standing there, because he wouldn't move out of the way, I said, sorry, excuse me, can I just go to my locker? Because I was starting to feel unwell then, and I didn't, in that sort of situation, the best thing is to, get out there rather than sit in the changing room. Now, because I was hot and sweaty, I wanted to get showered, even though I was feeling unwell. I didn't really know at the time that the heart attack had started. So I started to feel pain and tightness in my chest, but I thought, well, I just didn't think that it was a heart attack, but there was something in the back of my mind thinking, well, I'm not well, this could be something like that. I got undressed, probably not the most sensible thing to do when you're having a heart attack. I went to the shower to have a quick shower, but then when I was in the shower, I just was in so much pain. I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. I can't stay here. So I didn't lather myself up or anything. I literally just turned the hot water off, went back into the changing room with my towel, and I was naked at the time. And I was in so much pain. I think the guy was still there near the locker, but there was another guy also across the way, and he was showing a little bit more interest in my body language because I was acting a little bit weird. I sat down at first, if I remember rightly. So I was sitting down, just trying to calm myself. And then I thought, well, how do Then I went onto all fours, naked on all fours. Not the most, what I'd ever want to do. Really, I was cold. My arms were tight. It was a November evening, so it was, gym changing rooms don't tend to be that warm anyway, generally. I was trying to get into a comfortable position. And then I said to the guy who was reading me, I said, look, can you go and call, for help, please? I'm not very well. I think I need an ambulance. So, yeah, the duty manager came through and thankfully called an ambulance whilst I was in the changing room. But then there was an awkward moment that none of them were really prepared for me to be having a heart attack in the gym. So I later found out when I went back to thank the duty manager a couple of weeks later that I was the first person to have a heart attack in the gym. So they for example, I don't think they'd actually had they hadn't recently took their first aid course. In fact, I think that he or a colleague had gone back to take a class because that they weren't prepared for that to happen. When the ambulance was called, I thought, well, I'm cold, I'm freezing, I'm in pain. There wasn't really any immediate care. The duty manager, did his best. He'd call for an ambulance, but I had to get clothes on. So thankfully, then the changing room had pretty much cleared. I think I was probably one of the only people in there at that stage. And I went to unlock my locker and got my clothes on. I was half dried myself, got my clothes on, so I wasn't vulnerable and naked. And then when I got clothes on, I kind of relaxed a bit, and the tightness kind of went, and then the duty manager came back, and I didn't really want to cause a scene, so I was like, well, maybe I'm feeling all right now, maybe cancel it. So he went off again and cancelled the ambulance. And then as soon as that happened, the heart attack came back in full swing. So I had to go. I walked out of the changing room back to where he was. Like, can you please call it again? I really am. I think I'm having a heart attack. But during all of this, there was really big, banging drum and bass music over the PA system, or the sound system, and. They didn't turn that off, and the last thing that you want to hear, not that there's much wrong with drum and bass, but not when you're having a heart attack. Like, I need a bit of peace and quiet. So I went back into the classroom where the body attack class had taken place, and I tried to find a peaceful spot. But I was in there literally a couple of minutes before a cleaner would come in, and with a hoover, and was starting to hoover around me, and I was like, "Can you, And then he was trying to pick up a water bottle that I had next to me and pick it up as rubbish. And I was like, no, that's mine. And then the duty manager came back in again. I was like, can you please tell him to leave me alone? So I was I was back running within just over a month, and I was getting advice from friends who are fitness instructors or fitness very conscious of their health, and just giving me kind of motivation to continue and encouragement. And not just that, but I mean, I started a cardio fitness class just before Christmas, the week before Christmas, and that ran for 8 weeks. So I had a week or 10 days off over the Christmas period, but started again in January. And then that gave me the encouragement that I was doing okay with my fitness, that I could start running again on my own. So I was running pretty much twice a week or 3 times a week from sort of January through to where we are now. Because I had such low blood pressure after the heart attack, they didn't give me a very high dosage of Ramipril, the heart failure medication. They gave me quite a small dose. And after about a month, I had some more blood tests to see how I was coping, and they increased it, and now I'm up to a decent level of medication. I had to build up my fitness to then increase my medication, if you like. The heart failure, I could feel it in the first month. I could feel almost every heartbeat. Well, that's a lie, but there were moments when I would get heart flutters throughout December. In fact, there was one night when I was home over Christmas, and I wasn't, I was just sitting on the sofa watching a program, and then I suddenly got this bounce in it felt like I'd been, and my parents and my brother were there, and they noticed, and I was like, that was weird, something happened then. But it was something like it was just a sudden realization, don't know, but that happened a couple of times, but it's since January it's really settled down, and it's not, it's not as noticeable at all.
Exercise didn't make you more short of breath or painful?
No, it didn't. I mean, on occasions I was getting breathy. My first run and the first 5 or 6 runs, I was stopping quite regularly on the brows of hills. So I was running up a decent hill, but up sort of 10 meters from the top, I wasn't running to the top. I was then walking sort of the last 10 meters to the top because I was getting tired, and I had to build up slowly. I've listened to what I found particularly comforting in the first week I was released from hospital. I listened to the British Heart Foundation podcasts, and I heard people my age speaking like I am now, talking about their experiences having a heart attack in their late 30s or early 40s, or mid to 40s, and that I found that particularly comforting, to know that people have had a heart attack 10 years ago and they've got an active life now. They're training for a half marathon, or they're training for a marathon again, or doing something extraordinary. I was lucky in that my operation with my heart attack went well. My stents were implanted well, and even though I have a level of heart failure because of the fact that my heart was starved of oxygen, my fitness is relatively good, and my heart health is relatively decent still, although it needs to be maintained. I'll be on medication for life, but in terms of comparing myself to other people, it's hard to compare myself to somebody else. When I was in the cardio classes, most people were, the youngest I think, apart from me, was in his maybe mid-50s or late 50s. Most people are in their 60s, 70s or 80s, right? So, but if you look, the less people to compare against, but if I could compare myself to them, my fitness in the cardio classes was much higher, obviously. I mean, I'm younger, and I probably haven't had such a serious operation as maybe some of them have had. They had open heart surgery, some of those people. I didn't. I had an ECG this week. The young junior doctor that I saw said my heart rate was good. I had my liver tested because I've got all of the medication I'm on. I've got a high GGT level, enzyme level, which suggests potentially that my liver is diseased, although the cardiologist has explained to me that actually it doesn't. It just means that your liver's overworking. And thankfully, after having an ultrasound on all of my internal organs, they all seem to be on the face of it fine. So I have had to give up alcohol during this period, and I'm yet to go back to that. And I probably, they did say I could drink alcohol a month after the attack, or in fact they didn't really specify that, but I could have as much as 14 units a week, which is 14 vodkas, which is quite a lot. It's a difficult question to ask because I don't have anybody to come. I don't want to blow my own trumpet either, because I don't know if I've done well. I mean, I'm not somebody that is obsessed about my health all the time. I like to live well my friends would say that. My family know me well too. I will have a drink if I can, although I've had to stop that recently. I will probably not calorie count. I think I've done relatively well, but I'm not somebody that counts the calories. But I understand a decent diet. I eat fresh. My mother was a cookery teacher. I was brought up to have a decent understanding of food and how to cook fresh, and that's something that cook with fresh ingredients. Yeah, my lifestyle habits are good. I think they haven't always been good though. I've had darker days in the past where I have drank too much, or I have just lived slightly, well, not all the time, but there's periods. I've never struggled with anything. I don't think I've got particularly an addictive personality, but I think anybody likes to enjoy themselves occasionally. I have a tendency sometimes to do that. But generally, I think that I look after my diet. I ensure that I cook fresh, usually 6 days a week. If I might have one cheat meal a week, and then I may drink 14 units a week, but I don't drink excessively, I think that generally, I'd like to think that other people can do this too. I may have to, because of the liver function and the medication that I'm on, give up the alcohol or really reduce the amount that I'm taking. As I said, it's not a huge issue to me now because health is very important, and I want to remain healthy for as long as I can. So, I can get so much more enjoyment out of life. It's not just about living to excess, but there's, I want to maintain. I'm not really sure where I'm going with this, am I doing excessively particularly well? I think I feel fitter than I've have for some time. I still have times when my body itself, I think I struggle a little bit with climate. When there's a grey, cold day, my body, I feel that. In fact, that's one thing since the heart attack, why my temperature, I'm much more, I always have been a little bit susceptible to cold weather, but I feel like I certainly feel the cold more physically to touch, and my hands are cold quite regularly compared to other people. One of the things that I've learnt over the last 12 months is that when you have a problem, yes, the NHS is great in the UK. It can help you a lot. But I'm very thankful also that I've got private healthcare with my work, because if I hadn't, there are a few things that wouldn't have got resolved. Okay, my heart attack itself was dealt with by the NHS, and I'm very thankful for that. But with other ailments, I've had problems that were leading up to the heart attack. Such as the frozen shoulder, which could also be a symptom of bad cardiovascular health, and whilst many doctors would not admit to that, there's evidence I found online, and not just myself, but I've seen other people. There's a few sort of similarities. There were a few people in the cardio class that I was at that had problems with shoulders as well. So I really do think that there's something in that. And the challenge that we have is that you often have to try and self-diagnose, and doctors listen to the symptoms that you've got. And sometimes, I'm reading a book written by a cardiologist, and an American cardiologist, and in that book she's explaining that as a doctor and a cardiologist, she would almost let patients self-diagnose themselves, because as a doctor that was the easiest way. It was for her to listen to what the actual patient was experiencing, rather than trying to work it out herself. And during her training, it was drummed into her by senior doctors that if you don't listen, you're going to fail pretty much in your job. So that was fascinating, and that is an example, I think, in itself that you've got to look after, you've got to listen to yourself. I live alone, so one of the things is isolation and loneliness. And yes, we were having regular Zoom calls, but they died out after a certain time. And people that live alone generally will potentially suffer bad health as a result of their loneliness. Now, I've got a good support group with family and friends, but I am relatively a people's person, I would say. So I get comfort from being with people. So I think it's certainly important to listen to your own mental health. If you need to chat, go and speak to somebody. I didn't really feel like I did. I didn't feel like I needed to talk to anybody as such, because I think I kind of understand what my emotions are. I have anger, I have upset sometimes, but these things will always exist. I just need to manage them better. So some things aggravate my moods more, and that can be lack of sleep. It can be too much caffeine. I get quite anxious with caffeine. Alcohol can also affect my sleep pattern. So too much alcohol can affect that. And there are a number of things that can affect your mind and your body's balance. So yeah, just listen to that. If you can solve, or if you can be happy within yourself, that can certainly so much earlier in life, then you can certainly get a much healthier life as a result of that. So yeah, that would be one of my recommendations, just to keep talking to people and just trying to find your happy place whatever that is.